PT, and he'll be giving a speech and then maybe questions after. Okay,
great.
Start.
Jasmine will start.
Hey guys, I don't know if you guys came last time, maybe you remember me. I'm Jasmine, I'm a patient of Dr. Lin's. Also, I do PR for Dr. Lin. And so, when I don't know if you know my story, so I'll just quickly elucidate it for you. I came to Dr. Lin, not able to walk really because I broke my foot and then basically fractured the other one, and it was had a bunion and a thing, and I was just incapable of walking. And this was about 6 to 8 months after I had been told numerous times that the only way to cure myself was to get surgery on my sesamoids and basically take them out, and if that didn't work, then take out the other one. If that didn't work, well, that's that. And I wasn't going to do that because I was super active my whole life. So out of desperation, I looked up PTs in Orange County, and I found Dr. Lin and a trillion 5-star reviews, and I was like, okay, cool, I'll try. At which point I did, and after the first session, although he's not a miracle worker and he likes to say that, he probably seems that way to his patients because I was walking. And it's only been 2 months, and I'm wearing normal shoes, not often, but often enough. But it didn't start there. It started other places in my body that eventually led down to my feet. And I think that what Dr. Lin does is he encourages people to understand that the way that their body functions is a function of how much effort they put into it and how they participate in their healing. And instead of wasting 6 to 8 months walking, I mean, not walking, but ambling about trying to make sure I could eventually walk again, I should have just visited a PT in the first place. And I think that's what we're trying to change, is to make sure that people understand that active and participating health is the responsibility of the patient, and PTs encourage that. So although he doesn't like to talk too much about how awesome he is, he's awesome. And I think he has 2 patients here who are welcome, who probably agree with me that he is changing their lives for the better. So, Dr. Lin.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me again. I want to kind of build upon the last lecture where we talked a little bit more about the profession and choices that you can make, whether you want to choose a profession in the medical realm, whether you want to choose physical therapy, for instance. I wanted to kind of excite you about the profession as well and discuss the choices, but also discourage you and give you the reality of the profession itself and what's going on, whether it's burnout, whether it's injury, or whatnot, and also kind of make sure you're questioning yourselves and asking what the right questions are to be in this industry, if you have the guts or the grit. So I also brought about and kind of share with you a little bit intimate story of mine, and I'm going to share with you a couple more intimate stories a little later. But I spoke about my shoulder, my shoulder injury, where I tore my rotator cuff, and being 17 and being an all-star baseball player for varsity, and just how that dream kind of crumpled down. It was very traumatic, and it was frustrating. And basically, I could have been a victim of the medical system where I was debilitated. I could have, stopped, and or I could have persevered. And I think with the story that I gave you was to show you that perseverance and the choice to persevere is going to make a big difference in how you're going to affect in your futures, the medical realm. And that's, kind of where we're taking today's lecture. So, like I said, it basically was a depressing journey, but it led me to where I am today, and to be the healer or the practitioner that I am today. And I think, it's been worth it. I always tell people I get to live the dream every day. Now, how many people get to say that? They always ask you, how are you doing? And I said, I'm living the dream, And I always wondered how you can live the dream, but I get to do it every day today. I got to do it in front of you guys. 3 years ago, I don't think I'd be able to be here, or I would have thought I would be lecturing to people interested in even listening to my story. So let's go back to a little bit more of when I injured myself at 17. I was a little bit powerless towards the situation. What's the modern solution these days for hopelessness? It's a pill, right? A pill. It's a magic pill that would all of a sudden restore me to my true self, and I'd be an all-star, baseball player once again. But unfortunately, the real problem here is I couldn't come to terms with it. I was afraid to face what was the reality of things. What good is antidepressants and stuff like that. We'll go a little bit later into that, but I would have basically, like I said, been a victim of the system. I would have been an abuser of the medical system forever, and I would have been a helpless puppet. So the sad part is I just didn't know any better. Like you, fresh minds, smart, brilliant, and what else have you been indoctrinated with? I've been indoctrinated to believe that this system was going to take care of me my whole life, and it failed me. And it fails many of my patients today. They come in, they're disappointed, and I'm only one of many that could possibly disappoint them until you empower them with something. So basically, I kind of lived this life, a little bit despaired, a little bit frustrated, a little bit in denial. And it wasn't until I came to college, where I was 18, I had, and this is one great story of mine I like to share, is that in college, you want to look good. You have acne, some people have a lot of acne, and I had a lot back then. It didn't look like this today. So, back then, I don't know if this drug's still around, or if you guys use it, but Accutane. Do you guys know what Accutane is? Have you heard of it? Have you guys used it? No. Have you used it? What do you think of Accutane? It's pretty caustic, right? You kind of burn your face a little bit, or?
It was hell beginning, but then
Right, so that's usually the typical case. It was pretty much hell in the beginning of it, and if you see people in the beginning of it, their face is like really red, it's peeling, it's like really, is this what happened?
Yeah.
Yep, and I was willing to do that though, because I want to look good for girls. All the hormones and stuff like that. It didn't happen, but what happened was I found a local dermatologist. And and then I was expecting, I'm like, okay, today I'm gonna get this Accutane. I don't care whatever it takes. I'm gonna look good. I'm willing to look good. So I, schedule an appointment. I go to the appointment, and then, he comes in and then, he kind of looks at me, and he's like, why are you here? I was like, I want to look better. I don't want to have this acne anymore. And he looks at me and goes, all right. He's like, Justin, he's like, I'm going to get your face better. I'm going to promise to get your face better. He's like, but promise me this. He goes, don't touch your face for 6 weeks. And then he walks out. And I'm sitting there going, where's my prescription? I'm supposed to get this Accutane, right? And I sat there for a little bit, and then I realized he wasn't coming back. And I was sitting there going, okay, this is a little bit frustrating. I know I'm going to pay about $300 for this visit, and I didn't get what I wanted, or I thought I wanted. And I went to the front desk, and I asked the lady, I said, I forgot who the doctor was, but did Dr. So-and-so leave me a prescription for Accutane? And he's like, nope, come back in 6 weeks. And I was like, come back in 6 weeks? I got nothing out of this appointment. I have to pay $300 for this appointment? I got nothing out of it. And so I left. I didn't even schedule six weeks later. I just said, screw it. And then as the weeks progressed, I then started to realize that I picked my face a lot. I touched it all the time. In class I'd be touching it, in school, in the library, in front of my friends I'd be doing it. I didn't know how bad that habit was, that I needed to make that change. And so the more I started doing it, I had to peel myself away. I'm like, okay, don't do that. And then slowly I stopped doing it. And sure enough, 6 weeks came by, and my face was clear by 75%. And I decided to pay this guy a visit again. I said, okay, that took some balls. Took some balls that I didn't even come back. But my face is better. I only have 25% acne now, all over my face. So I got the next appointment, and I sat there, and I came back in, and I said, you got some serious balls. You got some serious balls that you're going to tell me, and I was actually going to listen to you and make my life better, and be an active participant in this. And the truth is that, he was right. And so finally at the end, he gave me this really low dose of antibiotics, and then it cleared up the rest of it. But the important lesson of this is that I was part of the equation. And this is what I want to bestow today, that I actually had to be part of this equation to get better. I could have just used Accutane. I'm sure it would have done fine. I would have experienced this horrible burning in my face for how long did it take you?
It was on for a year.
A year, right? And what did it take me? 2 months, really, 3 months, maybe. And my face was clean. I stopped picking my face. Did anyone tell me that, it was a very modern kind of concept, especially for a medical doctor, a dermatologist back then, just to say, all right, I can give you pills, I can do that really easily, or he could sit there and listen to me and really understand that this guy probably picks his face all the time, and I'm going to tell him not to do it. That takes some courage on the practitioner's parts. No one is ever doing that these days. Do they care to do that? Or put themselves out there? Because it really did take some courage to do that. And that's actually, a lot of that lesson goes into what I do today with patients. And in our profession, there's a few that go passive, but there's the other side that goes a little more active. And so what I realized was that, so I'm going to actually, we're going to go back a little bit, but I'm going to give you the biggest answer, and the biggest missing piece. And I kind of talked about this already, but, the biggest piece that's missing in our current medical model is you. You, the patient. Most patients are now in computers. Their results, their stats, their x-rays, everything's in a computer now. I don't know if you guys watch the TED Talks, but there's a TED Talks about the doctor's touch. You guys should really look at it. But it's a really fascinating, topic. But everything's so in computers now. You don't even need the patient themselves. You don't even have to have them around. When they do rounds, they're sitting in front of each other in front of a computer. Where's the active participation of the patient? There is none. So here's a huge dilemma. Patients are so far removed from the equation. Now, wouldn't you think that's pretty scary? Because what did you guys come in, and what are you guys wanting to do with your careers or your lives? Is to help patients. And you got to put it back in. You got to put them back into the equation to help them. It doesn't matter what the stats say, or it doesn't matter, when patients come to me, they're telling me their stories, and then I basically, I'm like, okay, I understand, and then I start looking at their behaviors, reading in between the lines. There's stuff that's not in the computer that you're going to get by just taking the time to listen, to touch them, and to believe in them, to have someone actually believe that they're not crazy. They've been through, like I said, they've been through the system. They've been disappointed by so many practitioners. So I'm going to have you think about a couple questions here, and then I'll revisit it later. But the questions are, what choice do you want to make, and what choice will you accept for yourself? So what can we do about this? I tell most people I'm just a small player in this, giant medical debacle. And I got a piece of paper, I got a degree that calls me, doctor of physical therapy, Justin Lin. And there's not much, like I said in the first lecture, there's not too many liberties that I have with this title. It's great, it looks good in society, and all that stuff, but what's the real power in it? And it's the only power I really have is actually to educate. And that's the most important part, the most important piece of this. It's a losing battle for physical therapy as a profession, even generally medicine at this moment, in my view. So, we're looking for, like I said before, we're looking for the best and the brightest to be part of this. We're looking for the best and the brightest to be part of the profession, to move and get together, make a stronger voice, and push this profession for progress, and to push it with me. Remember, this is one of my good friends always says this to me. He goes, remember, you have to be part of the conversation to change the conversation. And so I'm going to share with you a story about physical therapy, and this involves myself. It involves my mentor, Greg Johnson of the Institute of Physical Art. So And this is a pretty big story of mine, a little bit more than the shoulder surgery. So it's cool that you guys are here. You guys get to hear it. Is that about 8 months ago, my blood pressure at 32 was about 180 over 110, sometimes ranging to 120, between 160 and 180. That's really high. You know, I was really high. I was starting in panic attacks. I was like, this is, really strange. And, I looked about the same. I didn't lose like 30 pounds, and this is where I am today. I worked out regularly, and I thought it was really strange that, maybe work was stressing me out, but I love work, so why would that stress me out? Why would my blood pressure be so high? I started looking at my diet. I changed it. Nothing changed. So if you know blood pressure, most blood pressure is sitting at 120 over 80 in general. At 180 is basically borderline. I'm about to have a heart attack or a stroke at 32. It's really scary. And so I went to the doctor, I had a physical, and I was like, I don't know what's going on. I went to my primary care, and I said, okay, be real with me. Do I have to take pills? Because I don't really want to take them. And she's like, yeah, we should look into it. And I was like, give me a month, I'm going to try to do something. And I tried changing the diet. I lost like 10 more pounds. Still nothing. My panic attacks were probably, the feeling of a looming panic attack was trying to increase. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh my God, I have to take anxiety pills, I got to do this. And even just thinking about it made me kind of more anxious. And that kind of sucked. So I went back to the primary, and she's like, I'm going to write you a script. And I'll write you a script for ACE inhibitors, and, and just, you got to start it. And I was like, I really don't want to start it. But okay, I guess, I have no options, or so I thought. But so I went to, get the prescription filled, and I just stared at it for a couple of weeks. And then I knew my mentor was coming in town, and he was going to teach a class. And I was like, you know what? He's got 40 years more experience than I do, and maybe he has a solution. I don't know if he does, but I hope he has something for me. And if not, okay, this is my last resort. I'm going to start taking these pills. But you know where that's leading. You know where that's leading. It's going to have liver failure and heart failure, kidney failure, all this stuff, and surgeries, triple bypass by the age of 40. That's basically what I saw ahead of me. And that's not what I really wanted, Do you think that's what anyone wants? So he came in town, and then I basically pulled him aside and I said, Greg, and I basically looked at him with big puppy eyes. I'm like, I hope you can help me. I was like, because I don't even know how to help myself. And I looked at, and I said, my blood pressure, and I gave him the story. And he goes, okay, we'll spend lunch trying to do something. He's like, if you're willing to try something, he's like, I'm willing to do it for you because I care about you. And just like I care about my patients. And so I think it was a couple days later, and he's like, do you want to do it today? And I'm like, okay. And what he always says, and he always prefaces this, he goes, need is the mother of invention. Need is the mother of invention because, if you really care about someone, you want to do everything you possibly can. And he's got the skill set, which is, way beyond my probably existence at this moment. And I can only hope to be more like him. To understand the body the way it does. He studies anatomy all the time. He puts in an effort. He's a student of being a student, basically, and he keeps going on. And he's considered one of the top 5 physical therapists in the world. And so we got him there, I got on the table, and this was in front of my other classmates too. And, he started looking at my nerve, my vagus nerve, and my phrenic nerve, which is like fight or flight, things that, ramp up your heart rate, blood pressure, things like that. And apparently it was stuck, there was a lot of adhesions there. And so he started breaking up the scar tissue that was around there. And then he started to manipulate my heart. Now, how do you do that without surgery, right? That's pretty interesting. So he put his hand right here, and he started feeling my heartbeat. And he goes, what are you feeling? And I said, it's a lot of pressure, burning. It feels like something's just really deep. And so he started pushing. And he started pushing very lightly, and then it I could feel his hand and my heart kind of bumping against each other, you know. And then it just started burning, and it was like the deepest burn ever. Like if you put coal inside my chest, that's probably what it felt like. It started burning, and I was like, I don't know what's happening, but it's starting to scare me a little bit. And it's okay, but I trusted him. I knew even though he never really encountered something like this, he was doing it because he cared, and I was in trusting hands. So I, in turn, was the patient, not just a healer in a sense. And so he started moving it. And then he did a couple releases of my rib cage with breathing and things like that. And then he goes, "This is all I want to do today." And he goes, "You need to do this and this." He gave me some homework to do, and I started doing it. And lo and behold, 3 days later, my blood pressure was 120/80. And that is a miracle. Because I was so close to take pills, and I have these pills today. My Cinepril, right here. There's 30 I got, and there's still 30 inside. And I want you guys to see that. The magic of putting your hands on someone, listening to someone, and the ability to really heal without even understanding the whole thing, the whole picture. And like I said, like Greg says, need is the mother of invention. They're going to teach you all the stuff about science. They're going to teach you all the stuff about pharmaceuticals and stuff like that. But sometimes you have to think out of the box. And sometimes you have to do some gnarly things to make something like that. And I won't ever have to use that ever again. And that's, such a powerful day in my life that I can only, give great thanks and great gratitude to my mentor that he's in my life. So, physical therapy. I know you're going to learn a little bit more about it, but why is it here to stay? And why do I think it's here to stay? For stories like that. I think if you have mechanical dysfunctions, PTs are specialists in assessing biomechanical dysfunctions, the musculoskeletal system, including the organs, which is very cool. I'm starting to learn that now. Then there are usually mechanical causes, and that's the way Greg thought, and that's the way I think. So this is how we're going to move our society, and the modern society, to the future, because you guys get on the computer, you have access to all this information, and you want to be independent. But you're, in a sense, even powerless because you have all this information. You don't know how to decipher through it. So, like I said, just keep learning, keep getting some mentorship. Like I said in the first lecture, go ahead and start doing that. So, the society, or basically some things, are very powerless. We're very kind of powerless to be able to move. Do you think pills are going to give you that answer? Do you think pills are going to get you, like I said, to be an all-star again, or get me to be an all-star again? What good is a pill to make someone walk more efficiently? Or, like I said, even to get my blood pressure to drop? But does teaching someone to walk efficiently make more sense? Standing, carrying babies, vacuuming. I just want to preface, I'm not here totally to bash pills and pharmaceuticals. I think there's a time and there's a place for it. Like I said, I basically exhausted all my options. I didn't know any better, and I didn't have any choices, and I was about to take it. But I knew where that life was going to lead, and I kept looking for other answers. And it takes a very special patient. It takes a very special individual that's going to keep looking for answers beyond what they think is out there, beyond the research. That's what's going to push the medical profession forward. Basically, I think some of you would agree that pills are overprescribed and under-scrutinized, and so we can go back to my 17-year-old self, you know. I could have taken antidepressants, and I did, you know, and I did. You know, I had no options. But did someone sit around and ask me why I was in the despair that I was in? Did someone try to run me through the process? You know, it takes more time. Like I said, it takes more courage. It takes a little bit more to put yourself out there as a professional, and, you know, to be a little bit more uncomfortable to ask those questions, because some people don't want to delve into their lives. They want to sit behind their computer, write you a script, and then you're gone in 5 minutes. But what I was really missing was hope, purpose, courage. And the only thing that was going to get me back to where I am today was going to be me. I was going to put myself back in the equation and move my body again and look for different answers. So when a patient chooses to commit to be actively involved and start participating in the conversation, even what I believe, the biological variances that can cause depression, can step aside.